and welcome to our daily update and video devotion. Though today I want to do something a little bit different. You see, I have some guests with me, and I'll introduce them in just a moment to those of you who may not know them and tell you a little bit about what we're going to do and what we're going to talk about today. I want to mention a couple of things as it relates to the update regarding our reopening. Our staff met today for a couple of hours, and we discussed that opening process. We have a strategy that we are working on so that at the right time we can bring as many people as possible back on our campus. They're all working on this strategy so that as soon as we kind of get a green light. Our governor today basically told us that it's not going to be soon. It's not going to be in the next couple of weeks that we open, but we'll be ready when we get the green light to do that. And so stay tuned. Each day, this thing changes from day to day around the country and how we're responding to it. And so that kind of information could change too. But we do have a strategy we're working on. We want you to know that. And we're going to be ready as soon as we get the green light to do that. The other thing I want to mention to you is something I've been sharing with you for the past couple of days, and that is my most recent series called The Last Days. And we now have volume 1. There will be another volume down the road when we all gather back in this place. I'll resume that series. But right now, we've had so many requests for these messages. We put them in an album, 12 messages on the last days. It's a series I began in January, began preaching and talking about these things without any knowledge that COVID-19 was coming, but we intersect with that. It's very timely, and it may be helpful to you. It may be something you want to give to someone. Already we're starting to receive orders, and we'd love to make that available to you as well. For a gift of $40, you can have the entire series, all 12 messages in Volume 1, plus the outlines that go with each of those messages in an album like the one you're looking at right now. And so contact our church, www.rbcdothan.org. You can email to pastor@rbcdothan.org and say, I want the Last Day series, a gift of $40 for the CDs. You may prefer the DVDs, and they are also available in an album just like this for a gift of $55. But contact us, let us know about that. You can call the church offices. Our number is 334-792-9406. Or again, you can email us, pastor@rbcdothan.org, and tell us what you want, and we'll help you. We'll help make this available to you. So just wanted to share that with you. Now today I have a couple of guests with me, and that is Jonathan and Jennifer Blair. And they're really special folks to us. And to me personally, I've grown so fond of them. They've been on our staff for the past 10 years. Jonathan has been the contemporary worship leader for us and a college ministries minister. And of course, Jennifer has been such a great help in the music side of our contemporary band. And today we have some bittersweet news, and I'll tell you why it's bittersweet. Number one, it's bitter because they're leaving us, but it's sweet because of what they're leaving us for. They're headed to a mission field, really, and I'm so excited about that. One of the things we've prayed for years is that God would make us a mission-sending church. And they have felt that call to go to work in helping plant a church in Utah, and so I'm proud for them. I'm proud of them and their family. I wanted you to hear a little bit. I want to ask them some questions today. I want you to hear a little bit about what's going on in their life, what brought them to this place, and what they anticipate. Some of those sorts of things. And so I think you'll enjoy that. You may be one of our most recent viewers and may not know them, but they've been on our staff for 10 years serving the Lord, and now we're sending them away. I want you to hear a little bit about their journey. We had hoped that we would all be on campus, and they had too, to be able to say goodbye to so many people that they know and love and have invested in. In fact, they're going to do something really kind of unique on Sunday afternoon. They're going to be here at, what time is it again?
2 to 4.
2 to 4. They'll be at our Welcome Center outside, and we'll keep social distance and all of that kind of thing. But for folks that want to drive by and just say goodbye, we love you. You may have a card for them or some note of expression for them, and they'll be out here in our Welcome Center under the portico there as you can drive by. Tell them you love them, and you're going to be praying for them, encouraging them. But they wanted some way to just talk with some of you. They, again, like me, had hoped we would be doing this while you were on campus. But we are going to have a prayer of commissioning for them on Sunday, even though we'll be live streaming. Hope you'll tune in for that as well. But so, guys, welcome. This is the only time we've interviewed the two of you in 10 years on one of the many video platforms, and it's the last time, I guess, for a long time.
Maybe not.
Well, that's true. That's true.
We just pack up and come out there to visit us, and you can do an interview while you're there.
And we can tune in online do the Zoom kind of thing. But why don't you start off by telling our folks a little bit about your call to Utah, how you guys arrived at that. That's a great story.
Well, for I really don't know how long this story goes back, but for all the way. We felt for a while that God was preparing us for a new step. We didn't know what that meant, whether it was going to be something new here, whether it was going to be that He was taking us away. Jen actually had already kind of had it in her heart and mind that we were headed to church planting. And I was kind of ignoring that because I didn't want to have to go do that, just to be honest. But because she was already in that place, she actually had been praying that God would show me where. And to make a really long story short, literally just one day as I'm getting ready for the day, just a simple prayer. The book that we went through as a staff, The Pursuit of God by W. Tozer, was talked a lot about the presence of God and being aware of His presence, all that type of thing. And so one day as I'm getting ready, I said, God, if I know You're here. And I know that I'm with You and that You are with me, and if You have something that You want to say, I'm doing my best to listen. And just like that, He said, I want you to go to Utah. And that was one of those things of we had never been to Utah. We didn't know anybody in Utah that we knew of, at least. We knew very little about Utah, didn't really know what was going on there as far as the church goes, anything. It was just one of those things of, this is where I want you. And we're like, wow, okay. And so then as we started just kind of pursuing that and praying through it and trying to make sure that it wasn't just a random thought that I had, right? And it's just time after time after time over the next few days where He just kept confirming it through all sorts of different ways, through His Word, through even the conversation I had with you on that next Monday, and I mean just all sorts of things. And it's just been clear the whole time, God saying, this is my next step for you.
Now, Jennifer, did you come to the same conclusion? How did you arrive at the same conclusion with him?
Well, we were out of our home for a while because Hurricane Michael sent some trees to crush our house. And
we had prayed that God would keep us from getting too comfortable.
Keep us, because
be
things
careful
were
with
good.
that.
Yes. Ministry was good, family was good, and we were content. And so we started praying a little bit of a scary prayer: keep us from being too comfortable, Lord. Help us stay focused on our mission. And then the hurricane came, and I personally felt like I was in boot camp. I had this sense from God: I am in boot camp. I'm being prepared for something. And so through that time, I took a break off social media. I read a lot, and I knew I was ready to say yes to whatever God had for us. I just didn't know what it was, as Jonathan said. And then it was a longer time of us getting back in our house, and we ended up getting pregnant with our third baby, Elias, and I was really sick. So I was really sick and not feeling so great when God told Jonathan Utah, but I was already ready, and I had that confirmation of like, God already knew I was going to be sick, it was going to be harder for me to spend time in the Word and to pray when I'm nauseated, have two little kids running around, moving, chaos, and it was just so gracious of Him to already prepare me and already make a way for me to say yes in that time. So
that's cool. By the way, just a footnote: Jennifer is a fabulous photographer. She did the wedding photos of our daughter, and they're incredible. And so if you're in Utah watching this and you need a photographer, this lady can do, I don't know if you'll be doing that, but this lady can do it. I mean, she is absolutely fantastic.
Just families now. Families.
Just families now. Is that
no
what you're,
weddings,
I guess everybody's kind of spooked for a photographer anyway right now with COVID going on. Well, let me ask you another question. Tell us a little bit about what you're going to be doing when you get to Utah.
Okay. So after God called us, one of the first things we did was book some plane tickets to just get out there and kind of see what's going on, meet people, all that sort of thing. And so we did that last September. And while we were there, one of the things that became really evident through a lot of the conversations that we had with different church planters and some North American Mission Board people that we spoke with was that if we tried to just go and plant a church, we'd probably fail. Now, God can do what he wants to do,
Sure.
right? But just that it wasn't the wisest thing to do to just go, because the culture is just so vastly different there than anywhere else in the United States. And so through that, we started talking and praying and thinking that, well, maybe the best thing for us to do would be to go and partner with a plant that is already there, that has been, at least somewhat newer still, but has shown some success, so that we could go and have somewhere that we could serve, but also that we could basically be in training and learn what they're doing, what's working, learn the culture, learn the area, all that type of thing. And then from there, look at either planting another church, or even one of the things we've talked about since then is the possibility of even staying at that church plant, but training others up to send out. Because the church that we ended up leading us to is called Awaken City Church. It's in Harriman, Utah. Pretty much everything is right around Salt Lake City.
Right.
So Harriman's just outside of Salt Lake City. So Awaken City, back in March was their 2-year anniversary. They've been there for 2 years and have been pretty successful so far as you can be. It's hard out there, but they've been pretty successful in reaching people with the gospel. But one of the things they've been lacking was somebody to lead worship. And so we got to meet the pastor and his wife and talk with them, and this is a whole long story there too. We actually got to meet them in person because they just happened to be vacationing with her family in Destin.
Down at the beach.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Wow.
like a week after we contacted them.
Wow.
And so anyway, and so it just, everything just kind of fit where they're wanting to plant more churches, but they needed somebody to come in and lead worship. We were looking for a place to serve, but also to train. And so God just worked it together where it seems to be a good fit. So we're going to be going and for at least a year to 2 years, serving there, leading worship, and doing whatever else that we can. And then from after that point, either launching out, planting a church, or staying there and continuing to train people up, and with the purpose of sending them out for more church plants to happen. So.
And now, to do this, you're going to be bivocational, right?
Absolutely. The giving situation is interesting for church plants as a whole, but especially out there. And so we're going to have to go get a job. We're going to be, as Paul said, and I think
Now, does that mean you haven't had a job when you've been working here?
Pretty much. I mean, no. I'm going to have to go get a secular job.
Secular job. Okay.
So I'll have to do the work for the church in the midst of doing work to have our family survive.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Put food on the table.
Right. So it's like Paul said in I think it's Thessalonians, where he said we're tent makers
in
order to not put a burden on the church, and that's how it's going to have to be there.
That's good. What have you? I mean, once you make that decision to go, then it sets in motion a whole lot of other things that you have both found out about.
Yep.
What have y'all been doing to get from here to there? What has that been about?
A lot. I mean, we've started off obviously doing a lot of reading and praying and all that sort of thing to try to prepare mentally and spiritually. But as far as now that we're getting really close to the deadline, we have so far sold our house, and we have to be out actually by this Thursday.
Start moving out tomorrow.
Yeah, we've already moved a lot, packed most everything up, and moved a lot of stuff, and we're moving everything out to my parents' house for the time being, so that we can actually leave driving out there on the 10th.
Gotcha.
And so we're packing everything up. So the house is sold. We've arranged for both of our vehicles to be sold, and thankfully it's working out to where we can have them basically up until the time that we're ready to leave. And then when we get out there, we will find a vehicle of some sort, because for a vehicle that will hold a family of 5 and stuff, then it's too heavy to.
Welcome
really
to the world
tow
of
out there.
minivans, John.
Right. And then we're going to be. We don't really have a place to stay, a permanent, or at least a semi-permanent place to stay. So we're going to be staying with some people at the church plant. Whether it may be a couple of different ones, we don't really know yet. But a lot of them have basements out there, thankfully. So we're just kind of going and figuring things out. To be honest with you,
Told the kids we're like pioneers.
Yeah.
Well, you are, and you know what we used to call, as Southern Baptists, what we used to call missions to the West. You know what we used to call it? Pioneer missions. That's years. You guys weren't even born,
Right.
but that's what we. In fact, I was a kid, but we called it pioneer missions because the West had such a need. And it was that whole idea of like the pioneers who went out, who went west, as they took really culture and society westward. And so you really are kind of pioneers in a lot of ways, and certainly for the kingdom of God. I wonder, Jennifer, you got any anxieties? Is there anything that you think this is a little anxious or nervous?
Not now. It was a little bit chaotic with all of the coronavirus, and most of it centered around not coming to grips with the fact that our goodbyes weren't going to be the same.
Right.
And just the effects of that, and not getting to do some of the last things. But God's been gracious, and He's given us more than I think we even anticipated when all of this started. And He's given us peace because we know, like even this morning, just an overwhelming sense of His favor on us and His pleasure and just obedience, and it feel very unworthy of it because we're just saying yes. It does have a cost, but for now we're just really grateful God's given us His peace and His presence, and that really calms any anxieties that come up. We just trying to keep giving it to Him, and He's been so faithful to us through many years of interesting circumstances, and we know more is to come. So,
How about you, Jonathan? You got any anxieties?
I don't know if you call them anxieties or just concerns. One of the biggest things for me right now would be finding a job. With the pandemic that's gone on, a lot of the companies, we thought it was going to be pretty easy for me to find a job. I actually have a business degree and worked in retail,
and this is
and retail
actually
management.
a growing,
yes, very growing
vocational area.
Yes. And so we thought it would be pretty easy, and then the pandemic hit, and a lot of companies put a freeze on hiring.
Yeah.
And so, but we had pretty much already put everything into motion here, and so it was hard to just be like, oh well, we'll just wait because we don't know what's going to happen in the future with this pandemic anyway. And so right now we're just going. The church has been good to us, thank you. And so we will be fine at least for a while. But we're just kind of going and gonna let God open the doors that He wants to open. And
God has brought you this far,
That's
and
right.
you followed His leading, and He's done some really amazing things already about selling your house, how fast that happened.
Never even put it on the market.
And that's right.
Yep.
And even your vehicles, selling your vehicles, and how that worked out. So many things. When you're following the plan of God, it's amazing to watch. Now, He doesn't do it all at once usually, but it's amazing as you take a step, then He provides for the next step
That's right.
and the next step. And so that's a kind of a cool thing. Well, let me ask you both this question: what excites you about what you're doing?
Well, there's so much unknown, so it's hard to know exactly what we're excited about. I guess it's excitement to find out what it is that God has for us because we really don't know.
Newness brings excitement, period. So that's a big thing. One
By
of the
the way,
things,
it doesn't at my age, but it does at y'all.
it can. It just depends on what newness it is.
Yeah,
Right?
I think I can learn a few new tricks.
But one of the things that I'm really excited about is how. So like take the Awakened City where we're going, for instance. Harriman itself is population-wise about the size of Dothan. And I'd have to check. There may have been a plant startup since I last looked, but the last time that I checked, Awakened City Church was the only Christian church in Harriman,
Wow.
in a city the size of Dothan,
Yeah.
with even more right outside, because it's basically just continual city, right? So just within those city limits, it's the size of Dothan and growing quickly. And so just the, I guess the possibilities, there's, the harvest is ripe.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what can these people pray for you guys about? I mean, because I know so many of our folks are going to want to make you a regular part of their prayer life. What are some things right now? And we know that changes,
Right.
as things change. But what right now would you want people to be praying for you guys as you go?
One of the big things, and we actually just got a text
Yep.
from the pastor out there. One of the big things is that spiritual warfare is it's going on everywhere all the time. But from everybody that we've spoken with that has had anything to do with ministry work out there, it's a big deal. And so spiritual warfare and just praying for the protection of God against the attacks that are probably have already come, whether we've recognized them or not, and even more so are going to come. I would say would be the biggest thing, especially as a dad, you know this, for our kids. Because it's one thing if the enemy attacks me, but it's another if the enemy attacks my kids. And so just our faithfulness through that, but just praying for protection.
Okay.
So.
Jennifer, anything specifically you can think of that these folks can be praying for you about?
Yeah, I would say the same. Obviously, our kids, since we're parents in their transition, they're wonderful, very resilient, flexible kids. But as they transition to a new place, without some of the things that they've known before, and just that, our family unit, that God would protect us and, from the attacks of the enemy, and that, and for the rest of the church there, because it's the spiritual warfare. It's a tough battle from what we've been told for a lot of the people coming there to further the gospel. The enemy doesn't want that and is pushing back. So for us, but then the church as a whole there, and for the new believers.
Okay, so our people, here's what they can pray for you. If I'm number one, a job.
Yes.
You wouldn't mind them praying for that.
Not at all.
The right place to live.
Yes.
For finding a vehicle.
Yep.
Protection over the kids and your family.
Yes.
And one of the things we prayed just a while ago was that the blood of Christ would cover them and his angels would surround you. You pray for their protection as well. And the fact that the enemy certainly hates what you're doing. And so pray for their encouragement, I would add. You wouldn't mind that, I'm sure, because the enemy will try to discourage you.
That's right.
You're going into hard territory. And while the people may not be hostile, the enemy is hostile to the gospel. And so you pray for that for them and for their covering, and that God prospers what they do. The gospel, Jennifer, you mentioned the gospel, that it advances. And that's really the whole intent of the mission, is to advance the gospel. In a very ungospel area.
Yep.
There are pros and cons. I've served in an area that, well, not quite that negligent of the gospel, but an area where you had a lot of non-believers, and there are pros and cons to it.
Right.
I think there are a lot of pros, because generally when you talk to people about the gospel, they don't have what you and I have seen here, and that is this oh yeah, I'm a Christian. Everybody's a Christian, whether they've really trusted Christ or not.
Right.
You don't have that. You won't have that there, which makes for some wonderful gospel conversations with people. And so
it keeps the whole idea of every conversation's a possibility.
Every conversation. So they're going to ask you, what brought you here? Especially from South Alabama.
Right.
What brought you here? And you'll be amazed at the opportunities you'll have to talk to people about the gospel in a very non-threatening way, but you'll be able to talk to them about the gospel just by answering a question. You guys don't sound like you're from here, And then, so what brought you here? Did you come for work? Well, yes, kind of, and no. And you'll be able to tell that story.
Yep.
And so I'm excited about hearing what God will do through the two of you, and how He will advance the gospel through your new ministry there. And so you can pray for them. And in fact, I would urge you to take you a note sheet right now while it's fresh, or go back and watch this again and just write down some of those things that we've talked about, that you can pray for Jonathan and Jennifer and for their family, and I know that they would appreciate that greatly. There's one final question, kind of a question I want to ask you, but it is this. How would people get in touch with you? Is the best way for them to get in touch with you just to come through Ridgecrest and let us get information to you? Cards, notes. I'm sure people are going.
That's not a bad way,
Yeah.
for sure. I've already given the church a forwarding address for us there, at least for the time being. It's the pastor's address there. But we also have an email. We've started an email update list. So if you're wanting updates on what's going on, we're sending that out, trying to send one out every month, just kind of letting everybody know what's happening.
Do you mind giving them the email?
Absolutely. If you help me remember.
blairsinutah@gmail.com.
blairsinutah@gmail.com. You got that? blairsinutah@gmail.com. And so they can connect with you. People may want to send you cards, notes, that sort of thing. You can also send that to Ridgecrest, and we'll have their forwarding address, and we can get that to them as well. As you contact them by email, they may give you that address as well. But so if you wonder, how do we encourage them? How do we tell them how much we love them? Because some of you have sat under their worship ministry, and you'll want to do that. Either get it to us or contact them at blairsinutah@gmail.com.
Yep,
all right.
that's it.
Anything else you guys want to share?
Just Ridgecrest, thank you. We love you guys, and like Pastor said, it's bittersweet. We will miss you, but are excited to keep you updated on what God is doing in our ministry.
Yeah. Well, thanks. You'll be missed here, but we'll be praying for you there, and we love you guys too, and we want nothing but God's very best for you. Thank you for giving some time here so our folks could kind of learn about what's going on. And thank you for watching this video today. And I hope this is an encouragement to you. Here's what we're doing. We're continuing to do as much ministry as we possibly can, no matter what's going on out there. And so I want to encourage you to keep tuning in. I'll be back tomorrow with another word of encouragement from God's Word. And, of course, tune in to our Wednesday evening broadcast. And then, of course, this coming Sunday. This coming Sunday will be Jonathan and Jennifer's last Sunday with us. Man, that sounds funny to say that.
Yep.
It seems like it's come up so fast.
I know.
But join us by live stream this coming Sunday. Stay connected with us through these different mediums, as we'll keep you updated as soon as we know the next steps that we can take to reopen the campus. I love being your pastor. I can't wait to see you back on this campus.